Afternoon, everyone. We're having great conversations. All the networking is happening. I love to see that. Just a quick reminder before we get going, if you have a cell phone and you are like me and set yourself a million reminders, please turn that off. And also, if you do not want your photo taken, please let the staff know because we're all over LinkedIn and social media. So good afternoon and welcome. I'm Joslyn Young, CEO of the Surrey and White Rock Board of Trade, and I want to thank you for attending SFU's next chapter, the new medical school and beyond. I just have to say how excited I am. Who's excited? Are we so excited? Yes. This event is co-hosted by some of our wonderful friends in the business association space. The Cloverdale Business Improvement Association, the Cloverdale District Chamber of Commerce, the Downtown Surrey Business Improvement Association, the Fleetwood Business Improvement Association, and the Newton Business Improvement Association. Can I get a round of applause? Together, we represent the business community of Surrey and White Rock and work very hard to elevate their voices. I'd like to begin by acknowledging that we are on the traditional territory of the Coast Salish people, specifically the Kwantlen, Katsi, Coquitlam, Kakite, Semiahmoo, and Tsawwassen First Nations. As well, I acknowledge the Inuit and Métis Nations people who live and work on these territories. Today, you'll hear about Simon Fraser University's bold vision celebrating their 60th anniversary and launch of Western Canada's first new medical school in over 50 years, an unprecedented investment set to transform BC's healthcare, workforce, and economic resilience, and also bragging rights. Everyone, please help me thank the sponsors of today's event. Our co-presenting sponsors are Focus College and Shoppers Drug Mart. And our community sponsors, Central City, the Downtown Surrey Business Improvement Association, and the Health and Technology District by the Lark Group. Our sponsors help us do events like this, so I'm very grateful to them. Now, I also have some special guests in the audience. We have City of Surrey Councillor Linda Annis and Councillor Doug Elford. Hi, guys. Thanks for coming. Right over there. We have City of Surrey, or City of White Rock Councillor Bill Lawrence. Hi, Bill. And we also have Councillor Valerie Cross of the Tsawwassen First Nation. Where's my friend Valerie? There she is. Thanks for being here. And now it's my pleasure to welcome Richard Fung, pharmacist and owner of Shoppers Drug Mart, our co-presenting sponsor, and also one of our members of the board, so a very dedicated volunteer, to say a few words and introduce our next speaker. Come on up, Richard.
Well, thank you to Joslyn for that kind introduction. It is so great to see so many familiar faces today and my colleagues at the front, so thank you for coming. It is truly an honor to be here today representing Shoppers Drug Mart as we celebrate a significant milestone for Simon Fraser University and the entire province of British Columbia. The opening of SFU's new Faculty of Medicine marks a pivotal moment in healthcare education, promising to shape the future of medicine in Western Canada. At Shoppers Drug Mart, we believe in patient-centered care, where community pharmacists are integral members of each patient's primary care team. By empowering pharmacists with access to connected systems and technology, along with collaboration between healthcare professionals, we aim to alleviate pressure on the healthcare system while delivering personalized care tailored to individual needs. As trusted professionals, pharmacists often serve as the first point of contact for a variety of healthcare needs. By integrating their skills within primary care systems, we can foster a collaborative approach where every professional works at their full scope. As a pharmacist, I collaborate closely with other members of a patient's primary care team, such as physicians to optimize medication therapies for patients. This involves engaging in open communication to discuss patient progress and address any concerns that arise during treatment. Together, we create a seamless continuum of care that benefits from our combined expertise. Our synergy extends beyond individual cases. It includes joint efforts in community health initiatives and preventative care strategies that serve to drive positive health outcomes across communities. Looking ahead, Shoppers Drug Mart envisions a future where community pharmacies are a part of an integrated model of primary care. Pharmacy care clinics, like those here in Surrey, are one of the ways that community pharmacies enhance healthcare accessibility within communities through services such as chronic disease management, treatment for minor ailments, vaccinations, and point-of-care testing. By providing these vital services directly within the community, we aim to ensure that individuals receive timely and appropriate care without the need of extensive travel or wait times. This approach not only meets immediate health needs, but also empowers patients to take proactive steps in managing their health, fostering a healthier and more informed community. Our vision encompasses collaboration and innovation. We actively seek partnerships with healthcare providers and academic institutions to develop new models of care that address evolving community needs. Through these efforts, we aspire to create a resilient health ecosystem. The launch of SFU's medical school presents an unprecedented opportunity for collaboration between academic institutions, between us and business like ours, and together we can innovate and develop new models that reflect community needs and train the next generation of healthcare professionals. Let us embrace this exciting chapter with optimism and determination. By working together, educators, healthcare providers, business leaders, we can create a resilient health ecosystem benefiting all British Columbians. Thank you for allowing me to share Shoppers Drug Mart vision with you today. And it is now my honor to introduce your keynote speaker this afternoon, an elected fellow of the Canadian Academy of Health Sciences and a fellow of the Royal Society of Canada. She is also chair of the Research Universities Council of British Columbia and a chair of the Universities Canada Board. She is president and vice-chancellor of Simon Fraser University and a professor in its Faculty of Health Sciences. As president, she is committed to carrying out SFU's vision to be a leading research university, advancing an inclusive and sustainable future. Everyone, please help me welcome SFU President and Vice-Chancellor, Dr. Joy Johnson.
Well, thank you so much for that introduction, Richard. It's always a good day when I'm in Surrey, and it's wonderful to be here with all of you. Richard, I just love the vision that you have of partnership in primary healthcare, and we'll be following up with you, I can promise you that. Let me begin by also thanking Joslyn and the team. Joslyn, just want to say thank you for the land acknowledgement. It is important for us to be in right relations with our host nations, and so thank you for that. At SFU, one of our priorities is to uphold truth and reconciliation, and collaborating with our host nations is very much a part of that, and we look forward to continuing to strengthen those relationships. There are a lot of things happening at SFU, and you can see this beautiful mural is just one example of bringing our relationship with our host nations to life. And this is, of course, on our Surrey campus. I want to thank the sponsors represented here in many forms. Really thank you for sponsoring the event. It really is wonderful to be working with all of you to think about the ways that we can work together for the benefit of Surrey and for the benefit of this province. As Joslyn said, there are a lot of great people in the room today, and I'm not going to mention all of them. I do want to say a big shout out to Jamie Stewart, our former chair of our board. So great to have you here, Jamie. But so many great people, counselors, thank you for coming. Wonderful to have so many community leaders in the room. So last time that I was here, it was actually the Surrey Board of Trade. And now new things have happened. We've got a recent merger, and I know a lot of work went into that merger, and I want to congratulate the Surrey White Rock Board of Trade for the work that you've done. And I'm really confident that so much more can be done by bringing these two boards together. And I'm really excited to be here talking to representatives from the Surrey and White Rock Board of Trade. I think we can all recognize it is a challenging time right now, challenging from an economic standpoint, and we really do need our Board of Trade representatives more than ever to continue to advocate for our business communities, to help connect us, to think about the ways that we can work together. And so I'm really, really grateful for the work that you are all doing. We all know we've navigated challenging times before. And I certainly know that collaborations like this will help us navigate the challenges that lie ahead as well. As some of you know, SFU's story began in Surrey in 2002. It's been a great relationship, I have to say. It began in what was at that time the Zeller's department store in Central City Mall. And now it's just this amazing facility. But, you know, over the years, we've grown together, Surrey and SFU, and we've just seen so many incredible opportunities that we've seized together. And I'm very, very proud of the relationship. Proud of the things that we've accomplished, but also particularly proud of what's to come. Surrey is indeed a community that's poised to become BC's most populated city by 2028, as you all know, 2038, sorry, as you all know, and the first municipality in British Columbia to reach a population of 1 million by 2051. So it's a city on the move. It's a city that's growing and thriving, and it's wonderful to be talking about this new opportunity, the medical school. The level of growth is daunting as well, and we know with that level of growth comes a number of challenges. And I want to just say that SFU is here to engage with partners in the room, to think about the ways that we can be a collaborative problem solver, working with you, working with the community through learning opportunities, through business partnerships, solving problems together. We really are particularly excited about the SFU Medical School. This is when you applaud again. And we're going to be talking quite a bit about that today, and I'm really pleased to have our founding dean with us. But for some of you who weren't there, it was a really wonderful day for Surrey and for SFU when we were joined by Premier Eby in Surrey for an exciting announcement. It was at that time that we shared that the medical school's permanent building location, and you can see the hole outside the window here, and that will be our permanent location. We're very, very excited about that. And we also opened admissions at that time for the new medical school. I'll leave the details to David to talk about how admissions are going, but needless to say, there is a lot of demand for this incredible program. Through all of this, we have worked very closely with the City of Surrey in terms of establishing the permanent location for the facility. And I'm really excited that the building is going to include a community clinic that connects more than 30,000 local residents with primary health care. Yes. It's a fantastic opportunity for Surrey, but it's going to be a wonderful learning environment as well, and a wonderful opportunity to be thinking about team-based care, primary health care. We knew that if we had to develop a new school of medicine, it needed to benefit the community. That certainly has been the vision of the province, and that's certainly something that we have really held on to as we've been doing this work. We also knew that we needed to work with the city to ensure that we will be serving the residents of Surrey. And I'm proud of where we've ended up thus far, and really, as I said, excited to see where we go, because indeed this is just the beginning. So we're going to continue to work alongside Surrey and White Rock to really think about the ways we can strengthen the community and really drive economic growth through the development of this amazing facility, this amazing program. And it's all about purposeful partnerships, thinking about the ways that we can work together to uplift the community. So, as I said, we're really grateful for our ongoing collaboration with the board, then thinking about the ways that we can continue to work together. So I know you are very excited about the medical school, and that's why Dr. David Price is here with us today, and he's going to share an update after I provide some remarks. And then you'll have a chance to ask all your hard questions, and we'll look forward to those as well. But I wanted to just catch you up on a few other areas before we dive into more details about the medical school. As you heard, SFU is turning 60 this year. It's a big, it's a really wonderful milestone for us, but I do continue to remind people that 60 is very young. So we're really grateful to the faith that British Columbians have put in Simon Fraser University since 1965, when our flagship Burnaby campus was established. It opened to a class of 2,500 students, and now we have 3 wonderful campuses serving 37,000 students, and we have more than 200,000 alumni worldwide. It is absolutely amazing to travel the world and to meet our wonderful SFU alumni. By the way, I think there are a few SFU alumni in the room today. Put your hand up if you're an SFU alumni. Yeah, see that? Fantastic. I'd like to thank you for attending this SFU alumni event today. It's wonderful to have you all here. I do love meeting our alum. You absolutely inspire me with what you have done and what you continue to do. So we did host our 60th anniversary alumni event here in Surrey and had a great turnout. And it was wonderful to, in particular, meet students who were part of that initial class of 2,500. Yes, they're still around, going strong and doing some amazing things. So across the province, as you know, despite a lot of good things happening, we are a sector that is under a lot of stress. We know that we have an important role to play, though, in thinking about BC's economic and social future. And I really want to say that SFU, part of our, modus operandi is to think about ways that we can make a difference to this province. So today, here in Surrey, we have more than 5,000 students who are living in this area. We are expanding our footprint, including, of course, the School of Medicine. But we're thinking about other ways that we can continue to expand and continue to serve students who are south of the Fraser. I am so proud of how the Surrey campus has come together. Great to have Steve Dooley in the house with us. It's a dynamic, amazing campus. Lots of good things happening, from technological advancement to health innovation to really cutting-edge interdisciplinary education. So not only are we providing students with world-class education, but through these works, through these partnerships, through developing new inventions and innovations, we are contributing to the economy and making a difference for the Surrey community. So the theme of today's event is SFU's next chapter, and I just want to spend a little bit time reflecting on the road ahead for all of us at SFU. I want to say a word about something that you're all hearing about a lot, and that is artificial intelligence and quantum. And that goes along with a number of other technologies that we're being faced with day in and day out. And I have to say, oftentimes it feels like these technologies are buzzwords. We're hearing about them, we're thinking about their impact. But I want to tell you that SFU and other research universities in BC, we're really looking at ways that we can extend beyond the buzzwords and thinking about the way in which these new technologies can really make a difference to our businesses, a difference to the way we teach, the way we even at the university conduct our work. So I'm going to give you a few examples of some of the work that we're doing. Professor Woo-Soo Kim, an amazing professor in mechatronics systems engineering. He operates out of the Surrey campus. There's a picture of him right there. Isn't that amazing? And he's developing an AI-driven system to help grow food indoors sustainably and efficiently, using smart sensors to determine exactly how much water plants need and when. As the climate continues to change, we know that we're having dire effects on our farmers and those who produce food. And so these kinds of solutions are so very important to think about how we can utilize our resources like water and fertilizer to make sure that we can have high yields for our crops. Another wonderful example from Simon Fraser University is an incredible spin-off company called Photonic. Photonic is a quantum computing company, really cutting edge again, and we're so proud to have them in British Columbia. They will be a company to watch, I have to say. Quantum computing is poised to revolutionize how we understand medicine, chemistry, alternative fuels, and more. And according to a study commissioned by the National Research Council of Canada, the quantum sector is going to be worth $139 billion with more than 200,000 jobs and $42 billion in returns by 2045. So let's all catch this train together, shall we? And think about the quantum future and think about the ways that we might be able to learn together and think about these opportunities that Photonics and other companies will present. Photonics is also, I'm particularly proud of because it's being led by an SFU professor and a woman, Stephanie Simmons, and there she's pictured. She's a professor in physics and she's co-chair of the advisory board for Canada's National Quantum Strategy. So we have incredible talent at SFU, not only making a difference here in BC, but also in Canada. So this is a once-in-a-generation opportunity for Photonic to think about the ways in which they can grow this industry right here in British Columbia. I'm going to share a final example. I think it's the final example out of mechatronic systems engineering. And this is another area that we're particularly passionate about, and that is about clean energy. And Simon Fraser University Professor Eric Zhang is working to think about our hydrogen ecosystem. For those of you who don't know, hydrogen fuel cells are an alternative source of energy that really can help transition our energy economy and think about the ways that we can become less dependent on fossil fuels. It's really a growing area of opportunity, and the federal government's hydrogen strategy states again, in terms of economic output, that the global hydrogen market is going to reach $1.9 trillion by 2050. Again, another train that we want to catch and be part of. And to have scientists like Eric and his team working in fuel cell technologies is absolutely incredible. Clean hydrogen is expensive, however, and I think that's been one of the big stumbling blocks. But Professor Zhang's fuel cell research lab is really working at ways that we can improve hydrogen production, make it cheaper, make it greener, make it more available. So to advance this work, the lab has established more than 20 partners in industry with R&D leaders in this field, and a lot of local companies like Ballard Systems, who are also allowing students to gain industry experience by working in their labs. So lots of great things happening around technology, around thinking about our economy and where we're moving. And when I think about SFU's next chapter, but also in particular our next chapter in Surrey, I really do believe that the future is bright. We're going to continue to support incredible homegrown innovations and thinking about the way that inventions can move out into the market. We're going to think about how we can support them, grow them right here in Surrey and White Rock. We're going to think about how we can leverage our technologies and partner with the business community. And we're going to continue to make innovative discoveries that can make a real difference to our province. And I know that this is a future that I can't wait to see, but I hope you're equally excited about where we're going together. You can learn more. Of course, there's a QR code. And if you'd like to, you can also visit our website, www.sfu.ca/AI, to learn more about some of the great things that are happening in terms of our innovation. So now, speaking of innovation and speaking of impact, it's now time for me to turn things over to Dr. David Price. David is the founding dean of our School of Medicine, and he's going to share an update on the school. Dr. Price is a nationally recognized leader in family medicine and primary care. He's a practicing family physician, and he's a professor in the Department of Family Medicine at McMaster University. We're bringing him back to Vancouver, back to Surrey, back to British Columbia, and we're really excited to have David here. So please join me in giving a warm welcome to David.
Thanks, Joy. And yes, I'm coming back, and I'm coming back to a place that I have lots of failures just across the way here. For those of you who were at the opening, you'll know that when I played hockey in Vancouver, we used to make road trips out to Wally, and I don't think we ever won a game. So the ultimate irony is getting to take down the old ice rink where there was so many failures and put up a medical school instead. So just careful what you do when you beat us in hockey. Our School of Medicine is indeed, and I could go on about the curriculum, and I will give you a bit of a brief overview, but I think it's really worthwhile pointing out what a School of Medicine does for a community in terms of economic benefit. I gather that there's the odd business person in this room. And this is a very different audience for a physician to talk to as opposed to the usual medical types. When Joy talked about putting a primary care clinic in this new building, and that's what we're going to do. We're going to put in a very large interprofessional primary care clinic. And what does that mean? It means a home for our patients. It's a place to train our medical students, our residents, from family medicine for sure, but other disciplines. And when I say primary care, I think of pediatrics and psychiatry and all of the other specialties that happen out in the community and practice in the community, not necessarily in the hospital. President Johnson talked about where our goal is to have a minimum of 30,000 patients rostered to that clinic. 25,000 patients translates into about 100,000 physical visits per year. That's a large amount of foot traffic in a small area. And if you then bring in the specialists, if you bring in the ancillary services, the pharmacies, pharmacy visits, the specialists, et cetera, you can probably double that. So I think we're looking at a real economic driver for this part of Central Surrey, and I think that's why we're so excited about partnering with the City of Surrey itself. And you've heard about the recent RFP that the mayor and her team have launched, and we want to be a part of that and thinking about how is it that we start to integrate primary care and healthcare out in the community. We always hear about the hospitals, and hospitals are important places. I work for many years in the intensive care nursery at Children's Hospital. I've delivered thousands, literally, of babies. I've worked in intensive cares and so on. Those are key critical aspects of our acute sickness healthcare. But it's also really important that we have primary care, because if you think about it, if you were to guess what percentage of activity happens in the hospital versus happens in the community. And we hear about the billion-dollar investments in our hospitals, and yet less than 1% of daily healthcare encounters happen in hospitals. 99% happen out in the community. But the most expensive place is the hospital. So if we can build a really robust primary care system, start to treat patients or individuals or citizens early and out in the community, we stop them from getting into those really expensive places. So as the City of Surrey thinks about these hubs, as we think about pharmacy clinics, how do we integrate this all into a system where pharmacists know what's happening to the patient because they can see into our chart? We can see what's happened in the pharmacy clinics. We know what's happening in the hubs around us. And so it's really this opportunity here in Surrey and White Rock to build this integrated infrastructure, I think, is unprecedented. This is a huge opportunity for us as a university, for us as a medical school, and hopefully for the community. And we also know from many different studies that if you've got a robust primary care system, the health of the population is improved, the economic benefits are downstream are enormous, and our outcomes in terms of commerce, et cetera, is really pretty robust. So there you go. There's, oh, I have no idea where I am in the slides. Let me take a step back, and that's my sort of pitch, and I'm going to blast through the curriculum really quickly here and just give you a high-level overview so you know what we're building and why we're so excited about this. Forget the slides. I'll just do my own thing. You heard that the Premier was here announcing it. We have passed accreditation. We've opened our website for admissions. We have many thousand, a number of thousand admission in process already. We have two streams. We have an open stream. We have an Indigenous stream. Those students that come through the Indigenous stream and the open stream will have the exact same level of entry, so the same bar that they have to jump over. What's unique about what we're doing is we're saying we understand what the evidence is about the marks that you need to be successful in a strong, hard medical type curriculum, which is what we're going to do. We know what that bar is. Once you get over that bar, we're throwing out your marks, we're throwing out your medical college admissions tests, all of your standards, and we're then looking at other aspects of who you are as a student. What's your engagement with the community? How have you been in a longitudinal relationship with volunteer work, with the various things that you've contributed? What are you passionate about? Have you been involved in healthcare before? What are your relationships in terms of your volunteer work, et cetera? Trying to recruit students who are interested in that longitudinal primary care. And as I said before, we're looking for students who are committed to working in the community, and that could be in family medicine, it could be in psychiatry, it could be in emergency medicine, really that broad gamut. We're a 3-year program. There's only 2 other universities in the country, medical schools, that have 3-year programs. That's University of Calgary and McMaster. But we're doing more than that. We're going to be unique in the sense that we are going to start training our students in the community, with the community, and for the community. And what does that mean? The average medical student would spend somewhere between 70 and 80% of their time in the university, in lectures, in groups, et cetera. We're going to flip, and in hospitals. We're going to flip that. 80% of the time will be out in the community, maybe 70 to 80%, 20 to 30% will be in hospitals and in the university setting. So we want to get our students out into your community early and keep them in the community, because we know that if we get them into the community, they're likely going to stay in the community, and that's our driver. We're also a university, so we're going to be very interested in research. We're going to be very interested in policy. We need to understand what makes a primary care system effective and efficient, and a place where our graduates want to go. There's no point in training them in a great model and having a crappy model for them to move into. BC has made a great set of strides in the new longitudinal family medicine model. However, we've talked a little bit about team-based care, and perhaps not for publishing that the Dean of Medicine said this, but British Columbia is the laggard in this country in team-based care. We are absolutely further behind here than any other jurisdiction in Canada, bar none. That's probably not something that you want to hear, but it is the truth. If you think about it, for all of you, when you go to see your doctor or your primary health care practitioner, a nurse practitioner, do you get to see a team that is covered by the healthcare system? Do you get to see a pharmacist or a physiotherapist or a nurse practitioner or a social worker or a mental health counselor that's part of your team? Does anybody have that access to something like that that's part of the publicly funded system here in British Columbia? Not one hand? Actually, I'm surprised. I thought I was going to get a dozen people who were going to push me on this one. If I did that same question in Ontario, 30 to 40% of the room would put their hands up. If I did it in PEI, it would be a little bit lower if I did it in Quebec. Well, Quebec's a whole different story, as Andre and I were talking about earlier. But at the same time, we have that huge opportunity here to leapfrog it. And we at the university want to be part of changing the narrative, changing the discourse, ensuring that we start to move to team-based care, which we know is more efficient and delivers better outcomes long term. I think I've probably used up my time. So Joslyn, I'd say I could talk about this for the next 4 hours, but I'll stop and just say thank you for your attention, and thanks for being a part of this.
Thank you, Dr. Price, and here we go. Joy knows what she's supposed to be doing. Great. This is on. All right. Thank you so much. I have so many questions, but I have to share with the audience, and I know you have questions too. So we have a microphone right here, just on this side, and I invite you to come up and ask your questions, introduce yourself, name, company, where you're from, and of course, as always, we ask that you keep your questions brief and respectful. I know we're a well-behaved audience. We do like to have fun in Surrey, so, you can get a little spicy, but keep it nice. So I'll start with the questions, but just wander on up when you're ready, okay? All right, so I'm so excited for this new chapter for us and our community. And can we just dive into this team-based care? Because I need to hear more about that. I feel like I make my own teams of healthcare practitioners. And I was over at the table, Alicia's table from ICBC. She has the chiropractors, the physios, everybody at this table. And I create those groups myself. So how does a team-based environment work in a formal setting?
So it's very true that you can create your own team. And if you're lucky enough to have benefits, those team members are covered. What we do know, though, that if you have a team that is there working collaboratively together, it's not up to you to create the team, it's up to the team to create the environment to care for you. So if you come in and see the nurse practitioner who then has the opportunity to ask the questions, they'll steer you towards where it is that you need the care most because of that back and forth conversation that they've had with you, as opposed to you having to figure out, I think I need to go and see X, Y, or Z specialist, which may be correct, and it often is, of course, but not always. And it's also, your 4 or 5 people, you don't know the 15 people that are out there that you could potentially benefit from. And so that team-based care allows each of those individuals to work at the top of their scope, which means that it's more efficient and it's less costly overall for the system.
That's great. I know that, in this community, we're very well connected and we help each other. And so the advice goes between person to person, but to have this centralized a little bit, I think will streamline things and make it more efficient and also better for the patient. So, you've talked a lot about the things that will set this new medical school apart, but let's take a deeper dive. And I'd love to hear from both of you. When the conversation first began around the medical school, what were some of those heart-to-heart talks that you had and that got you to this place? Can you talk to us about that?
I'll start and then I'll let you continue. I became president of SFU in 2020 and COVID years. I remember I got a call from Minister Dix saying, I'm going to put a new medical school for the province in the NDP platform because we were starting an election. And I was like, you are? Really? There'd been a lot of talk about it prior to that, about us having a medical school, but that was really the first time that we've started to get strong signals from the government that they really wanted to make a difference and establish a second medical school. I've got to tell you, this is not for the faint of heart. It's a lot of work to put a medical school together. You've got to put a business case together. You've got to work with government to make sure it's appropriately funded. You've got to think about what the model is going to be. You've got to hire a great dean. And then the other thing, for SFU, we haven't had a lot of professional programs. We have an engineering program and public health program, but it changes the fabric of a university to have a medical school. And so also to bring our internal people along in this has also been a bit of a journey, and a good journey, I have to say. But, you know, we like to brag, and we have been for 17 years, Canada's top comprehensive university. But, you know, some people say, well, that might bump us out of that category now into, you know, the medical doctor program category. So it's been great. It's been challenging. It's been challenging for everyone involved at SFU. But, you know, David has picked up the gauntlet, and, you know, the big hurdle that we crossed this summer was accreditation, and I'll let you talk about putting the team together in the accreditation piece.
And I think the other thing is the partnership. So I didn't talk, I think they were up on the slides, but the partnership with UBC. So we've already got a medical school in this province and with training a number of students here. So how is it that we don't bump heads with them? How is it that we collaborate? And how do we find the spaces where their residents and their students are not? We've done a lot of work to try and do that, and I think we've been pretty successful now in figuring out what our various skill sets are. Accreditation is huge. We are a primary care focused medical school. Accreditation in the accreditation sense in a Canadian medical school says that our graduates have to be ready to go into any discipline in any profession, and they will be. They will be extraordinarily well prepared to move into any single discipline, whether that's radiology, whether that's neurosurgery, whether that's whatever ology you want. But we hope that they'll be really turned on and jazzed about being primary care physicians. So that's part of that. I think the other thing that changed along the way was this idea that, are we just going to train a bunch of family doctors and we won't be a full service medical school? We will be more in a training facility as opposed to a university. And I think the key here is two things. We are a broad-based medical school as a full university program. We are also a university for all British Columbians. Yes, we're based in Surrey. Yes, this is where our focus is going to be in terms of our teaching units, et cetera. But we will start to look to place students broadly across the province. And our commitment has been that when we get a student who's from a different region other than the Fraser Health region, we want them to have some of their training in that community. Not all of it, of course, but a little bit so that it's a longitudinal. But at the same time, we are really going to be focused on our Fraser Health partners. And to that end, we're moving into smaller communities. So the White Rock area for sure, the South Surrey, into Ladner, into Abbotsford to start. So you into those kind of communities. And as we grow from our 48 students of this coming year to 120 in 3 or 4 years, we'll broaden that right through the Fraser Health region.
Amazing. Thank you. Jamie, you had a question?
Jamie Stewart from Hamilton Duncan Law Firm. Actually, I had 3 questions, but you've addressed most of 2 of them. One is the definition of community. You referred to community again and again, and I guess community-based means what? And it's not specifically Surrey, and you've addressed that. The other one of the questions you addressed was, where does UBC play in this? And you've addressed that particular question. So the final one I'm left with is, one of the real changes that SFU made when it came to Surrey to begin with is to increase the access and the perception of access to post-secondary education for people of the Fraser Valley and people in Surrey in particular. I'm curious, will the medical school have that same kind of effect, do you think, on students originating in Surrey? And I know it's early in the process, but can you comment on what interest has been shown from Surrey residents?
So the short answer is absolutely yes. The more nuanced is we're talking about pathways. So we are working in 2 fronts with Indigenous communities to start at the elementary school level through to high school, through supporting students into university to think about a career in medicine for sure. But if they end up going into one of the health sciences disciplines, that's great as well. Having them start to see that there's an opportunity for them. We have a formal program already with the Surrey School Board We've had some great partnerships there, thinking about how we develop pathways for students of Surrey in the high school to think about a career in medicine, to think about a career in the healthcare disciplines and in general, so not just medicine, and moving forward with that. So our idea then is to get our students, our learners, and our residents back into the community so that students will see, gee, somebody from my community was able to get into medical school, I probably can too.
Thank you. Just keeping an eye on the mic. Are you coming this way? All right, over to you.
Thank you. My name is Katie Crocker. I am the incoming CEO of Unity. And so you mentioned the importance of research and policy to the school, as well as the recognition that being in community will enhance students' connection to the community. Where do you see opportunities for community-based nonprofits to contribute both to the students' learning and to the institution's policy and research development?
So I think this is a really important question, and thanks for that question, because as a university, if you don't have the partnerships within the community, you start to, it's internal baseball, and you don't think about how you're impacting and how your students can learn from others. So one of the streams that we have is a community engagement stream for our learners. And the idea for them is during those times, and it's not a huge amount, it's sort of a half a day every couple of weeks, to make sure that they get out into community, out into the community and start to understand what the various community partners can deliver. It's really clear that if you only think about medicine, you don't go very far. I was at a board meeting on Monday, and we had three quite young entrepreneurs, two of whom were involved in the medical field and the third who wasn't. But what they are bringing in the technology, and I think if you might have seen up on one of the slides, is one of our pillars is technology and understanding how to use technology as opposed to going to the bright, shiny object, but how is it that you ethically and responsibly use technology to advance care? If we don't have those partnerships with the various community organizations, the various entrepreneurs within this community, we won't be successful. So the key here for us is to really partner with a whole breadth of community partners, not just the nonprofits, but some of the for-profits, the pharmacies, industry, technology, et cetera. And I think that's where we can make a substantial difference.
Come on up. It's a popular microphone. We can line up too, gang. It's okay.
Good afternoon, and I'm somewhat wearing two hats here today. So I'm a board governor at Simon Fraser University, but I'm asking this question as the CEO of Diversity, and we're an organization that primarily works with the settlement of newcomers and refugees within Surrey. And so specifically, in what specific ways will SFU's new medical school integrate Surrey's unique demographic profile? We recognize that this is not just it's Surrey-based medical school, but it is not only for the province, but particularly with respect to Surrey. Our demographic is marked by cultural diversity, income disparities, and a large immigrant population, which traditionally has been underserved. How will SFU specifically integrate this into its training and community health initiatives to better serve underserved residents?
Before you answer, I just want to say it's wonderful to have a member of our board here, a great supporter of everything we're doing at SFU. Sorry I didn't acknowledge you earlier, but wonderful to have you here.
Was that question planted?
Absolutely not planted.
No, I'm afraid it wasn't. So a couple things. Any medical school, as part of its accreditation process, has to have a really well-developed document on how it is that you both identify and respond to the needs of underserved populations. And so we have a very large actual document addressing that. In brief, there's two ways or maybe three ways that we do that. One is by having the community clinic, which will be accessible to all. And we hope that by doing outreach into the community, we get individuals from the underserved populations, from recent refugees, immigrants, those that aren't served well by the normal system, that those those individuals come to our clinic, and by coming to the clinic, we train our residents and our medical students on how to care for those individuals and also to understand their unique needs. And I think that's an important aspect of that. The second aspect is research. How is it that we identify, and we've actually already commissioned a research study to understand what are the demographics of the populations that we serve in Surrey and in the Fraser Health region. Who are those underserved folks that are invisible, if you will, and how do we then engage with them? And so we have, as part of our staff, we have community engagement individuals who will go out and try to figure out where those folks are and engage those various communities, and both staff and faculty doing that specific role.
We have over 100 different languages spoken in Surrey, so we're kind of a mini global representation right here. So that really is comforting to hear that that perspective is brought to the table. Yeah. Go ahead, sir.
Hello, good afternoon. My name is Chris White, and I'm the CEO and Chief Paddle Officer for the inclusive place of pickleball. We're actually opening up across the street, just a shameless plug, by the way, at Central City. And what has pickleball got to do with this conversation? So what I'd like to actually understand is I hear a lot about primary care, but where are we in regards to preventative? Because one of the things that we're really interested in at IPOP and the things that we're already involved in a research study in pickleball with UBC and BC Lung. But one of the primary things I notice in the medical industry is that doctors don't seem to get a lot of training in nutrition. They don't seem to get a lot of training in the ways to prevent and to move the body. And we're really interested in longevity. Obviously, I'm in a business of keeping people healthy for as long as I can. So I'd really like to understand that this, maybe the philosophical changes are happening at this point in time. That would be really cool. And I'd also like to do a research study with you guys. So if maybe that could happen in the future.
So we don't have a pickleball longevity study yet, so maybe there's that one. There is, however, a tennis longevity study. And, oh, no. I love playing both. Tennis players, on average, live 7 years longer than non-tennis players. Whoa. Just putting it out there. Maybe pickleball is 15 years longer. Who knows? So where do we get the training? So I think this is where the team-based care comes in. I understand the basics about nutrition, that much. The dietitian that I've worked with understands that much. And so we need to be able to, in this sense, understand where the team is and how we partner with the team. In today's world, you can't know everything about everything. It's impossible. And so how do we understand where to send the individuals? And part of primary care is absolutely prevention. It's about planetary health. It's about exercise. It's about nutrition. It's about socialization. I could go on and on, but you get the picture. So that is part of what our curriculum is. And our curriculum is based on presentation. So what we're doing, which is kind of unique, is we're developing avatars that our students will meet over and over and over again over their 3 years of medical school. So they'll see a 40-year-old pickleball player and who comes in year one with a knee strain. Maybe by year 3, they've now developed, I won't even suggest what it is, some sort of other deeper medical problem, and they'll have that relationship with that avatar, so they'll see how in the community it evolves. But importantly, some of those individuals will need preventative care, preventative health, vaccinations, all of the aspects that you brought up. So that, to me, is an integral part of primary care.
Hey, hi, my name is Anuj Sial, and I'm a founder and CEO of ADG Group. So we have office in India, Canada, and US. So we are into AI health like one division which focus on latest product development in the AI space, like how we can append it into the healthcare, right? So one of the product is AI Scribe, where we are empaneled with the Ontario government and adoption is happening. So I have a question and suggestion both. The question is how you are adopting the AI in a for the students, because what we experience adoption with the young doctors are much faster, whatever product we are introducing. With 50 and plus, their adoption is somehow they are scared, and overall AI is somewhat scary for the medical practitioners, right? So my question is what you're doing in that space, and my suggestion, right? We have managed to break through in terms of early diagnosis. Doctor's assistance is there in the system. Doctors can take a second opinion from the AI. Now, same thing if we can introduce for the patient also, at least first level of interaction, right? I think that's my suggestion. That is ready. I think industry is ready for that, but only thing adoption is not happening.
I think technology adoption, as I said earlier, it's about not necessarily jumping on the bright, shiny object, but understanding the use cases and how to use it responsibly and well. Our students will be very comfortable in using AI Scribe, for example. I can't imagine that any of our students are going to be doing the typing that I do. One of the things that we know that medical students in particular, and residents even more so, when they see a patient, they tend to, instead of looking at the patient, they're looking at the computer the whole time, typing away. They glance over at the patient, back at the computer. There's not that interaction. Our assumption is that if we start early with the AI Scribe, that's going to be, like I use AI Scribe in my practice, even though I'm over 50. It's just like, why wouldn't you? It saves hours every week. And so, but how do you use it? Where is the data stored? What is the data integrity? Does it meet FIPA, the compliance? Are you using being a HIC, a health information custodian? Are you stewarding that data well or properly based on data on standards? So all of those things will be a part of it. Technology is one of our platforms. It's one of our core values, and what I've seen in terms of AI Scribe and the AI diagnosis, et cetera, it's stunning. I was down in Stanford last year, and what they are doing is just out of this world. I'd love to have a conversation with you because there's so much going on.
The other thing I will say on AI is that you're talking about the adoption about people out practicing who've been practicing for a number of years, but we're seeing this across all industries that, people, CEOs, people in the C-suite are knowing they need to adopt AI for their businesses, but don't know what to do. So at SFU, we are offering a number of programs now to teach people about AI, how to adopt it, how to integrate it, et cetera. And I imagine as we move forward, we'll be thinking about other kind of programming related to healthcare and how we can help people kind of make that next leapfrog.
Excellent. Next, follow up. Make it quick.
Follow up, yeah. So we are part of US Medical Accelerator Program, where they connected the academics and companies together so that we should have amazing products comes up in the market. Yeah. So SFU Venture, I'm part of the SFU Venture as well, but I see a gap in terms of academics and us, right? So your thought on that?
That's good. Thanks.
Next question, please. Surrey is very vibrant and innovative.
No, great
the Health
questions.
and Tech
Love
District.
it.
We've got it going on, don't we, folks? Go ahead.
Hi, my name is Rossi. I'm a guest here with Envision Financial, but I also work for the Surrey School District, and I'm an SFU alumni.
Yay.
Yeah. And I was in BPK, so biomedical physiology and kinesiology, and I know that myself and a lot of my peers are very excited to have a new med school open in BC and so close to home to increase opportunity for all of us. So my question comes from more of like a ground level. You've mentioned the 3-year model of the curriculum with a lot more in-field practice practice, which is amazing. But I'm curious what the process was like in terms of making that decision and ensuring that despite less of the traditional lecture time and the four-year plus program, how you ensured that the rigor and required training and knowledge will be conveyed in that time.
So excellent question. Did you want to jump in?
No, you go right ahead. You should come to our Senate because this is the exact kind of question that we're getting because it is a different program and it feels different for people and they're worried, but I'm absolutely confident that we've got a really amazing program. So over to you.
Yeah, when I started this journey, I was 7'6" tall, and now I'm 6'4". It's a couple things. Accreditation standards are the accreditation standard is no different for a 3-year program than it is for a 4-year program. The 3-year program is 131 weeks. The 4-year of instructional education, the 4-year program ranges between 131 and 133 weeks. So almost identical. And then the question which I had to answer right away was, okay, well, the students are going to be more burnt out. There's going to be more dropouts. They're going to be more in debt because they can't work in the summers. All of these things, which we know from our 2 existing 3-year medical schools in this country, is not true. In fact, some of the students do better after 3 years than they do after 4. I think it's probably student and university medical school related as opposed to a 3-year versus a 4-year program. So I have no doubt that we'll be able to impart the kind of knowledge and expertise in the 3 years, excuse me, that we would normally do that would have been done in 4 years.
I think Madeline was next from the BIA, downtown Surrey.
Thanks, Joslyn. My name is Madeline Nichols. I'm the COO of the Downtown Surrey BIA. And we've got lots of business people here in the audience, and there's definitely a real bubbling excitement to welcome you. I have a question. Knowing that 75% of Canada's GDP comes from downtowns, maybe you could tell us what some of the direct spin-off benefits are going to be for the businesses in downtown.
Yeah, so maybe before you do, I just want to take an opportunity to thank the Surrey BIA, who really did the first study to look at economic benefit for Surrey for the medical school and really helped us move the work forward. So Elizabeth, I want to just really say thank you because it really started to become apparent that there are so many spin-offs and benefit. And David, you started to talk about those, but there are many. You want to talk about your experience in Hamilton?
So maybe if I could give you a very simple example. So Welland, for those of you who know Ontario, is a small-ish community, probably about 300,000 maybe. And they, this is about 15 years ago, they engaged a company that was going to come in, bring 100 or 200 jobs to their community. The company came, they looked at the land that was on offer, et cetera, and then they asked the question, where are our employees going to get health care? And it was a very uncomfortable conversation because everybody in Welland was driving to St. Catharines to get health care. The company said, thanks, but no thanks. The mayor phoned us up at MAC and said, hey, David, can we have a conversation? Long story short, we started training our students and our residents in their community. We had a fabulous partnership with a local pharmacy, with the local BIA, with the mayor, with the councillors, created a healthcare hub, trained students. By the time, sort of 10 years later, they had a very vibrant medical community, and they were importing people left, right, and center. When I left MAC, I got a lovely letter from the mayor, who was, I think, 3 mayors since the first one, saying that thank you for your partnership. That was transformative for our community. It just, and I don't know how to describe it any better than that. We can talk about some of the downstream effects of the population being healthy, less sick days, all of those sort of things. But I think it's just being a partner within the community and has such tangible and intangible benefits. I hope that at least answers your question a little bit.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Go ahead.
I'm Carol Ann Marno, and I'm from Genome BC. And one of the things that Genome BC does is take genomics and try to figure out how to apply that to solutions in society. And so one of the things is trying to figure out how having individuals mapped, their mapping of their genomes can actually provide unique healthcare for each person. So we call this precision medicine. And one of the things that the government is often saying is like, we have this great research, but how do we actually get it into the clinic? So I am hoping that with this primary care vision, that there will be more ease there. But I'm curious in terms of working with, like, one of the things about technologies is healthcare technologies in BC often will have these great research, and it looks like it's ready to be implemented, and it just doesn't get into the clinic. So I would love to hear you talk about that and your vision for incorporating sort of biotech, because we have a great biotech sector here in BC, and actually getting some of these things more into the clinic, economic analysis to allow it to get into the clinic. So just love to have you talk a little bit more on that. Thanks.
Yeah, have you got 20 minutes? So precision medicine, let me just riff off of one thing quickly. We're going to be the first medical school in Canada and the second in North America to use precision education. And what that means is using technology and using dashboards to understand the student's journey and give them direct, targeted feedback and support so that their journey through the medical school curriculum is really well supported. And I think that's the principle there, is understanding the data, tailoring it to the individual student, and then tailoring the interventions and support to the student. And you have to have the data from all of the data points. So we need the data from the community, we need it from the hospital, we need it from the university environment, et cetera. And so this is exactly the same thing with genomes and precision medicine for primary care. One of the challenges with almost all of the EMRs, the electronic medical records, is they're just essentially paper charts that are digitalized. There's no interoperability, there's no interaction, there's no way to search it, there's no way to really have AI or anything else overlay it. That is starting to change. And one of our goals with those large number of patients that we're going to have in our clinic, as well as the hubs that Surrey is talking about starting to build, is how do we ensure that those EMRs, maybe they're the same, maybe they're not, but do they at least communicate with one another? And are we able to use the data for the patient to give information back both to the patient and the clinician on how to tailor their treatment? So this is definitely on the radar. It's something that we've actually talked about with the associate deans, et cetera.
I think the other thing, just to add around the clinic, and I think Minister Osborne is certainly excited about this, but the staff in the ministry as well, is that the clinic is really a bit of a green field here, a place to try some things differently and to see some new models, and then to think about how they could get rolled out throughout the healthcare system. And that's my real hope. It's that this is more, and David, you talk about this all the time, this is more than just educating physicians of the future. This is about trying to transform the system, and that 30,000 patient clinic is really, I think, ground zero to do that. Do it differently, show its effectiveness, and then start to figure out how to roll it out.
Can I just take us a little bit further on this? So you've got a lot of entrepreneurs, business people in this audience, and they are interested in how they can be involved. So how can not just the broader community, but the business community be involved with supporting the medical school? And then perhaps if there are unique business ventures that we can do together, how do they approach you about this?
So I think there's a couple of different ways. It's a great question. One is we're really interested in hearing from folks, and we're quite happy for one of us to come and meet with you if you've got an idea. I think it's also, there's always a challenge between the pitch that is really good for the business versus the pitch that makes sense for either the healthcare system, the medical school, our learners, and it's how do we marry those so that it's a win-win for both sides. And that's the sort of thing that we're really interested in. And I think this, as President Johnson said, this is really a green field for us to start to understand what some of those partnerships might be.
So do your research and think about your audience for your pitch. Go ahead, please.
I'm Sonia Parmar. I wear many hats in Surrey. This is more of a personal question than it does with everybody else that's asked questions here. So we're here on a new chapter, new medical school that's being opened. So my question is, yes, Surrey is diverse, but so is the medical needs of the diverse people. And how is the new medical school going to address those needs? I went to my doctor asking a why question, and I was told God knows.
Oh, gosh.
So I don't want anybody else to have that. I told my doctor I don't believe in God, and he just kind of walked out the door. So, it's just a different approach to medicine. That's my question.
Yikes. I know doctors sometimes think they're gods, but they're not. So I guess a couple things. How do you respond to a question like that? That would not actually meet standard of care as per our college guidelines within British Columbia or any province in Canada. And something like that is almost a reportable type interaction. So I'll leave that with you to think about that. Part of our accreditation standards has to be describing how it is that we respond to community and cultural needs. We have made, one of our pillars is embedding Indigenous ways of knowing, being, and wellness into our staff, into our faculty, and into our curriculum. And one of the principles that Indigenous colleagues always say that if you can raise our boat, you're going to raise everybody's boat. And this, I think, is an important principle for us to understand how it is that culturally we respond to various cultures. The conversation that I have with somebody from my own background, it has to be very different, or at least I need to understand somebody's culture and where they're coming from and what their values are. And if I don't know that, I need to have the comfort to ask, as opposed to imposing my values on somebody else. And I hope that's the kind of culture and kind of ethos that we impart on our students. And partly that is through the small groups, partly it's by people like yourself educating our students. And one of the things I always say to community members and patient groups is you have just as an important role in educating our future physicians as we in the medical school do. They need to get feedback from you. They need to get realistic, constructive feedback from the citizens, the patients that they're interacting with. Because if they don't get it, they're blind to it, and they don't understand the impact that it has. And these folks, they're highly motivated individuals to do a good job, and if we can help them understand early how to interact, that can make such a big difference, so that when they're out there and they meet somebody from a completely different culture 10 years from now, they have the self-awareness to start to think, what worked with that group may not work with this one.
Next question, please.
Sandra LaRose, I'm an SFU alumni. My question is for David. How do you recruit your faculty for such a huge new endeavor?
Actually, quite simply, we put an ad out to the Fraser Health physicians, and within 48 hours, we had over 400 physicians who had applied. We now have north of 850 part-time clinical faculty from the Fraser Health region, all of whom have signed up, and we are in the process of now doing faculty development. For our research medical faculty, for 4 positions, we had way over 100 eligible applicants from not only across Canada, but North America and internationally. We probably had another 250 people that weren't really eligible. For our associate dean positions, we tend to have multiple applications. So I guess what I would say is there's a real enthusiasm in the medical community for a venture like this that is a little bit different. So we're in the honeymoon phase right now. Our challenge is going to be to keep folks like this over the next 5 to 10 years and to demonstrate that we are treating our faculty as well as we can.
Next question.
Hello, my name is Sachnees. I'm a current SFU student and I represented from Pacific Artstone. And I've grown up in Surrey my entire life. I actually attend SFU Surrey, so I'm very well versed in like what goes on in the community. I also volunteer with Surrey Urban Admission Society, and the #1 issue I've seen in my own community is that there is a lot of drug addiction, right? How will this new med school work to address that, and how will we be incorporating that?
Yeah, that's a tall order. I think that is such a complex question that I don't want to pretend that I've got an easy answer for, because I do not. I think understanding that it's a big issue and a major issue is the start of it. The second is putting the resources in terms of educating our students around how to respond to mental health and addiction is an important aspect. Being involved in research, helping to translate what's working well in other communities to this community is an important aspect. Policy development, whether that is in terms of housing, whether that's in terms of social services, whether it's in terms of food, whether it's in terms of healthy, nutritious lunches for our high school students or elementary students. I mean, those are all part of it. And so how do we become a really valued, important community partner in terms of trying to change the narrative? I mean, of course, we will have physicians who are specialists in mental health and addiction working with our students and our residents in how to treat on an individual basis. But apropos the earlier question, how do we get upstream in these journeys and hopefully mitigate and minimize the number of folks that end up in going in that direction?
The other thing I'd add is at SFU, we have an amazing Faculty of Health Sciences and a number of researchers doing work in the area, particularly of addiction, thinking about those upstream factors, thinking about pathways to treatment, thinking about harm reduction. And I think that, as we move forward, thinking about how we knit together what we have at SFU with our amazing faculty that are, up and running and doing this great work with the medical schools, the other great opportunity. I know that work is also continuing.
Go ahead, please.
Paul Orizzetti. I'm the Executive Director of Cloverdale Business Improvement Association and 1980 SFU alumni.
Isn't that great? That's so great.
Live by the mountain. But in any event, a lot of what we're really up to right now is we do a lot of dialogue with the community, and one of the biggest questions that comes up, I think there's some people out there that don't believe that you'll ever be able to meet our needs with staffing. We are the home of a new regional hospital and BC Cancer Care Center. And I'm not sure if you're able to forecast or give a sense of the number of potential graduates that would make their way into the Cloverdale area.
I can't speak to the Cloverdale area specifically. What I can say is that there are somewhere between 700 and 8,000 British Columbians who do not have access to a primary care physician or nurse practitioner in this province. If the average family physician looks after 800 patients, you can do the math as well as I can, but you need thousands of more family physicians in this province today. We're going to graduate 48 medical students in 3 years. We're not going to move the needle. We can move the needle if we start to talk about how we provide care differently, how we are providing team-based care, how we're working collaboratively together. The amount of money that's invested in this province and across the country in healthcare, it's one of the biggest drivers of economics. And if we think about the ROI of your tax dollars going into healthcare, it's not very high. And I suspect if you ran the business the way we run healthcare, this room would be empty. And so we need to be a part of that kind of solution to changing that, so that when you do build something, there will be the kind of folks that need to move into it. You know, the idea that we're going to create a new clinic and suddenly magically fill it with family doctors, it's not going to work. You're robbing Peter to pay Paul. You know, the old shuffling the deck chairs analogy. So how is it that we actually build this differently and do it differently? That's what, to me, is the promise for what we're doing. We aren't going to be out there figuring out the latest subspecialty way to transplant and to prevent graft versus host disease, but we may be able to think about how it is that we can change how healthcare is delivered out in the community. That, I think, is our potential and contribution. And those 48 students, I hope if they grow up in a team-based environment, are then going to tell 48 other individuals who'll tell another 48. And within 5 or 10 years, we can actually really change the narrative so that your question is kind of hopefully redundant in 10 years.
It's so interesting, David, too. We were talking about pharmacy earlier, and one of the issues in the province is that people are not practicing to their full scope of practice. You actually liberate the practitioners around the room who can actually practice their full scope of practice, and we would start to solve the problem. We've got to get out of each other's ways here as well and think about these new models. I think it's fantastic.
So speaking of long-term planning, because really this is where we're at. In 10 years, maybe we'll have made a dent. And in business, we need to think that way too. And so bringing the conversation back to policy development, I was very interested in your thoughts around what are your top policy issues that you'd like to start working on. You may or may not know that the Surrey and White Rock Board of Trade is one of the top chambers of commerce for driving policy conversations in the chamber network. And this is where we've seen ourselves as a smaller organization really be able to make a broader impact, because those policy conversations end up happening on provincial stages and then national stages and then global. So can we talk a little bit about the policy conversations you'd like to have?
I think I threw down the gauntlet early on with stating that BC is the furthest behind of any team-based care environment in this country. You're all part of the Better Business and part of this group because you understand the importance of networking and collaboration and teamwork. Family physicians and physicians in general work in silos. So how is it that you can help us to change the environment? And if we recruit great students into our primary care system or into our medical school, if we train them in a wonderful environment and there's nothing for them to go out into, they're going to choose dermatology and ophthalmology and neurology and all those other specialties that are well funded. How do we think about changing the narrative so that team-based, community-based primary care is where it's at? And we need your help with the politicians. We need your help translating the evidence. We need your help in building the kind of infrastructure that supports that.
Great. I see the microphone is dried up, so I can launch into my questions. Oh, no. Okay, I'll get one question underway as we walk towards the mic. So I know that there are students out there right now who are interested in applying to the school, and we probably all know someone who's got a student somewhere who's got visions of being a doctor. So can you tell us, we know that this is a competitive process. You had thousands of applicants within the first few days. How can a student set themselves up for success in their application? Tell us more about who you're looking for and what kind of qualities they exhibit.
Yeah, my heart was actually gladdened to see the number of people that had started the application process, and my heart sank at the same time, because I know that we're going to send out a whole bunch of letters and we're going to disappoint a large number of individuals who would make excellent physicians. And I think that's our struggle, is how do you choose 48 out of 100 or 500 or 1,000 outstanding individuals? We'll do our best, and I think the long-term community commitment is an important aspect. I think demonstrating an interest in the community-based relationships, and we've made SFU has a real commitment to reconciliation. How do our students demonstrate reconciliation? How have they partnered with whatever community they've grown up in to try and improve the community within which they are living and working? How have they demonstrated that they are a team player and understand the value of team-based care? And that could be teams writ large. It could be the local sports team. It could be an athletic or an artistic group. It could be something that is really demonstrating that team-based collaborative environment.
The first person who told me about this new approach is Councillor Cross from the Tsawwassen Nation. And when she told me about this, who this person is that you're looking for, I was very, it was really appealing to think of a doctor who really cares about their community, because we notice in the business environment that those who are approaching their work with also a service mindset tend to do more for their community. And that's why we also have such a huge nonprofit sector that's very successful here in Surrey, with so many people working together to make the community better. So that we're very excited for that aspect. Madam, please go ahead.
Thank you, Joslyn. I heard the magic word silo, and then I heard another word which had to do with dealing with medical health and addiction. And if you go into our communities today, you will see the homeless hanging around in some of the downtown centers. And over a period of 30 years plus, we haven't been able to help them, period, end of story. People have kind of lost faith and support and even understanding some of our institutions now, and certainly the health institution in British Columbia seems to be failing a lot of people. We had 2,000 people waiting to get into independent, or pardon me, long-term care. Now the list is over 7,000. You're looking at a new system which would work, I believe, if we had the magic wand and could do double or triple or quadruple what you're trying to do at Simon Fraser University in a 3-year term. We need to get more physicians there, and we need to recognize that addictions and mental health and working with community is a wraparound situation. We need and have 4 pillars there. And I know that you now have the pillars for your community system and your health system, and I don't disagree with them. I think that's probably it. But who's going to be the leader in what you need when you are dealing in situations that we haven't been able to clean up for 30, 40 or more years? Because that's where I think we have to begin. They say homeless, okay, they need a home. But they also need therapy, they need help, they need harm reduction. And you need to put them in a place where they will get the appropriate care. So that community-based healthcare, absolutely, I'm in, you know. My degree was in 1968. It's so old now that, you know, UBC, and it's outdated. But I think the technology and the things we have, if we could move a little quicker, be a little more open in embracing the different things that we can deal with. And if you truly deal with community, then you have to deal with the people in the community and listen to what they have to say. And honestly, don't go off in one direction and not do wraparound, particularly for mental health and addictions, because that's where we're going to change and bring communities back together. It's sort of a question, but not quite.
Okay, so very quick example. One of the things that in Hamilton, where I was at McMaster, we're just within a stone's throw of our large teaching clinic was a place called Vanier Towers. Vanier Towers was subsidized city housing. The average life expectancy for a male was 48, and the average life expectancy for a woman was 51. None of them ever left. I think the stats were that less than 5% of them had a family physician and had seen a family physician within the last year. But probably 95% of them had at least one, if not many, emergency room visits. Because of the model that we had developed in our Department of Family Medicine, we were able to have family physicians plus the nurse go into the Vanier Towers and start to provide care in the lobby. By the time I left, and I don't know what the stat is now, but it was in the ballpark, 65% of them were rostered with our family medicine clinic, and yet not one of them had ever been in our family medicine clinic. And so we were able to do that outreach. The stats will prove themselves in 5 or 10 years as to what the life expectancy change is, but that's the kind of model that I think is such a critical aspect of the things that we can do. And that's a small, did we impact social care? Did we impact housing policy at the city level? No, but we start to become advocates. We start to send our medical students there and our family medicine residents and other residents in psychiatry, et cetera, and they start to influence policy.
And I believe that if your policy would write in something that identifies the needs in the community and begins to build on that and supports what they do, and we support each other, we'll get much further than we will if we're trying to work in a silo.
Yeah, and Andre Picard is sitting right behind you, and
he's going to help me out too.
So the way that we started to understand the needs of the community, it was written by a Hamilton Spectator reporter, Stephen Buist, who partnered with a researcher from the Department of Geography at McMaster, which helped identify those populations that we said, hey, we're right beside them, maybe we should start to work with that community.
That team environment really is at the heart of everything that you're talking about. And those are big questions for a university, for a medical school to be asked to answer for us. We can't answer all things, but that thoughtful approach, I think, is obviously registering with this audience. I'm going to have to move on to the next speaker, so we all have a turn because I don't know what time we're at, but Heather will stand when, we have 10 minutes. Okay. Go ahead, sir.
Hi, my name is Suk. I own the Shoppers Drug Mart on King George and 72. And we're one of the first stores in BC to have a pharmacy care clinic where the pharmacists prescribe. I've been in pharmacy for about 14 years, and I've noticed the silo relationship between doctors and pharmacists. And I was curious if you'd be open to the idea of sending students to a pharmacy for a couple of hours to get an idea of what that world is like, so the relationship could have more connection.
So the short answer is yes. The longer answer is, if students are going and being taught by a pharmacist on how to handle episodic minor ailments, that makes a lot of sense. So do I want a student to just go to your clinic and observe you for a couple of hours? No, I don't. Do I want my student to go to your clinic whereby you understand the curriculum, where you have a vision and a goal for what you're going to impart to that student over the couple of hours that they visit you? Absolutely. And so that implies that there has to be a partnership, and there needs to be a mutual understanding of what it is that you do and what it is that our students need to understand so that they can graduate and pass their exams and be the kind of physicians that we're looking for. Hopefully that helps.
No, I absolutely love that idea. I love to do something like that with the students. And the other question I have kind of along the same lines is, when you work in healthcare and you've done it for a while, there's certain, I think, situations you see in your career that you don't necessarily see or get preparation in school for. Yeah. Now, when I went to pharmacy school, it was more about the curriculum and the drugs and scenarios, but when reality came, the pandemic came, there was so much asked that we don't get trained for. And I know we've got a bit of a system to filter a certain caliber of student, but they're going to see things in their career that I want them to keep that passion alive to do that work. So are there things in the curriculum for resilience, for how to go through those unfamiliar situations where you and I won't be around?
I definitely won't be around. Yes. Mindfulness, a whole whole part of the curriculum is focused on that, yes.
Thank you.
Jeff, did you have a question? All right.
Thanks, Joslyn. Jeff Crocker, I'm a volunteer with SFU. I'm co-chair of the Industry Advisory Board with the Mechatronics School of Engineering, along with Susan here. Couple questions, one for David, one for Joy. First question, David, a little spicy. Are you still playing hockey?
Yes.
Okay, I will keep an eye out for you because I don't think I want to stop any shots from you. The repercussions look pretty severe. Joy, a question for you from an opportunity standpoint for SFU. A new school of medicine creates an opportunity for collaboration with other schools. And we've talked about the team-based care and the data sharing and the siloing of data and the opportunity for technology. Are you looking at ways, or maybe even better, what is your strategy for addressing this? Because this is more than just a medicine question. This goes into a technology space, and how do we do this in a better way?
Yeah. Thank you for that question. I really believe the School of Medicine will benefit the whole university, and the School of Medicine will benefit from the whole university. And so, we've been going 100 miles an hour, getting accreditation and hiring and moving things forward. But, the dream really is to think about the ways that in the School of Mechatronic Systems Engineering, and there are people doing really interesting work related to new technologies for medicine, that there could be collaboration, teams working together. And that's just one example. I mean, our Faculty of Health Sciences, our Faculty of Science, in our Faculty of Arts, there's a great deal of interest in psychology, in our School of Gerontology. These are assets for the School of Medicine, but also opportunities for our researchers at SFU as well. So, I think that's going to be the magic for me, is to figure out how we can knit these things together, create opportunities, think about driving innovation forward through meaningful partnerships. And I see that starting to happen. We've got a new associate dean for research in the School of Medicine who's interested in those areas. A lot of enthusiasm. Our provost, Dilson Rassier, is here, who's helping us to think about all of that as well. So I think, to me, success will in part be, some of the metrics we've talked about making a difference in primary care in the province, and our thinking about our systems. But it also will be, I'll look back and really be particularly proud when I think about the other opportunities that this will really offer the university as a whole. This idea of lifting all boats, I think is really important for all of us.
Thank you. Last question from the mic.
Thanks, Joslyn. Shafiq Jamal, I'm with the Fraser Valley Real Estate Board, but I have a personal question, and I apologize I'm late. The reason I was late is because I went to see my doctor, and
it's a good reason.
He actually
I know where this is going.
He pulled out his smartphone and asked Perplexity what it would prescribe. It kind of threw me off a little bit, because I always wanted to rely on his medical knowledge, because I drove a long way, and if I had the Life Labs requisition form, I could have just asked Perplexity and filled out my own form and gone with it. So it's a slightly tricky question, but do you envision a future, especially with digital natives, where AI takes over?
Yeah, I don't know that AI is going to take over in my career lifetime. It may eventually. So the asking the question makes a lot of sense. In the old days, I used to look it up in a book.
Okay.
Now I used a particular app, and now I absolutely do and will use artificial intelligence and LMMs to start to understand. The difference, however, is if you ask Perplexity what the right medication is for your condition, it'll tell you. It will not be precision medicine and tell you what the right medicine is for you in your context, with your values, with your experience, with your level of income, et cetera, et cetera. My job, I graduated in 1987. In 1987, I knew more about medicine than most if not all of my patients, except for the ones who are in healthcare. Now, I guarantee you I know less about their conditions than they do. 100%. They come in with way more knowledge about their psoriasis, their diabetes, their whatever it is than I do. No question about it. Not because I'm old, but because they've spent some time learning about it. What I know more and what we need to train our students is to understand the contextualization so that it's the right treatment for you, and also to give you the options and explain it to you. Because if I say you have a 50% reduction in risk if you take this medication, boy, that sounds good. I should take it. If I told you, though, it's going to reduce your chance of having that condition from 1 in 10,000 to 2 in 10,000, and it's going to cost you $500 a year, you might look at it a little bit differently. And then if I told you, well, because of your age, you're going to have this, this, and this side effect, you might say, boy, that 50% doesn't sound very good. So how is it that we as physicians start to contextualize it? That's going to be our role over the coming years. So no, AI is going to only enhance what I do. I don't think it's going to replace me anytime soon. Maybe eventually it'll be really nice and calm and understand you so well, and you'll have spent the morning chatting with your chat bot. Maybe you will put me out of business, but not anytime soon, I don't think.
I hope not. You know, I will say, David, I really do believe there's something about human-to-human interaction as well that cannot be replaced by a chatbot. You know, there is something about a true healthcare interaction that is very, very different than, you know, looking at your smartphone. And so I think there are those other benefits that we need to, they might be intangible, but they're very, very important.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think real quick, my kids are 21 and 18, but they never call me, right? They're always texting me. Yeah. And they're living in an economy where everything comes to them, right? Uber Eats, DoorDash, car sharing. They don't interact with humans. And so that was why I was worried, because, but you've comforted me, because I think healthcare is a bit of a unique situation. Thank you.
Great question.
There will be no replacement for this.
Oh, exactly.
I don't want to look at robots, and I know you don't want to look at one on the stage. So thank you for that question, Shafiq. So I often start our sessions on stage here with a question, but I'm going to end our session with it. And that is, I want to know your origin story. And those that have been in some of our sessions before will know that I ask this question because in Surrey, we really are relationship-based. We want to know who you are and why you are doing what you're doing. So who wants to start?
How long is an origin story?
I will give you a few minutes.
Okay, I'll start, and I'll be very brief. I was born in Spalding, Saskatchewan. My father was a Lutheran minister, and he had a 3-point parish and ran around southern Saskatchewan, covering off 3 churches every Sunday. Eventually, we moved to Ontario, where he was a campus chaplain in the 60s. You can imagine what universities were like then. And eventually, we moved to Vancouver, and he was a campus chaplain at UBC. So I grew up on a university. My mother was a nurse, a fantastic nurse. I was inspired to go into nursing, and I was a nurse. I can no longer call myself a nurse because I'm not registered. Worked as a nurse in intensive care during this time of HIV/AIDS at St. Paul's Hospital. Learned a lot about the importance of evidence and the importance of compassion, and eventually went back and did my graduate work at the University of Alberta. And became a professor in nursing, hence my passion for this project that we're doing. But most of my work was in the area of public health and interested in the social context of health outcomes. So I've got a wonderful partner, Pam, who we've been together for over 40 years, and that's another part of my story. But one of the best moves I ever made was to come to Simon Fraser University in 2014 as the Vice President Research. And I've never looked back. It's a fantastic team to work with. I count my blessings every day that I get to work at such an incredible university.
I love that context. Okay. Dr.
How do you
Frank?
follow that? I was really good at 2 things in first-year university. One was pool, or billiards, and the second was, I thought I was good at ice hockey, but I really wasn't. And that summer, I worked as an orderly at Vancouver General Hospital. And for those of you who don't know what an orderly does, in those days, they had white shoes, white socks, white pants, and a white jacket.
They look so great.
And we did all of the dirtiest jobs in the hospital, whether that was changing bed linen, whether that was making beds, whether that was giving baths, etc. And I won't bore you with the story, but there was a particular incident one night at about 3 o'clock in the morning when I went, oh, and then there's a few swear words. I'm wasting my life. I'm playing billiards. I'm playing hockey. I'm having a great life. And this ain't going to last because I only got, I don't know what it was, 70%, 65% in my first year of university. I got first class after that. And there's two parts to that story. The first is sometimes it takes an episode like that to flip how you're thinking. I think the second part is it's pretty humbling being at the lower end of that scale. And for me now with our admissions process, what a lot of schools do is if you know what you want to do and you're driven and you have everything works really well through your 4 years of undergraduate university, you get great marks and you might get into medical school. If you've had any challenges along the way, if you didn't know what you wanted to do, if one of your family members got sick, if you got sick, if something happened to you, you're working at a part-time job, maybe it's not so easy. And so that's why we've designed our admissions process to reflect that so that folks have chances if they fell off the rails for a short time. And the second part of my origin story was I was in family practice on West 10th, just outside of the university. So I had some of the richest people in Canada as patients. And I remember one woman who lived in a very nice house not far from the practice, and I couldn't understand why her child had recurrent infections that I thought I was treating well, and this child just never got better. And I finally, I was starting to get frustrated, and I finally said to her, what am I missing here, Joanne? I don't think that was her name. What am I missing? What's going on with your child? Is there some sort of genetic thing that I'm missing? Do we need to send him to a specialist? And she looked at me and she broke down in tears and said, I can't afford the medication that you prescribe. And I was like, here I am making an assumption. Turns out she was living in that nice house in the basement suite with her partner who didn't work, and they had 2 kids, and they were basically living. And she said it's either food or the medicine. And I thought at that point, what a turkey I was that I didn't ask the proper questions. I had a cabinet full of that medication within an arm's reach of me. And all I had to do was understand my patient better and ask some important questions. And I would have changed the trajectory of that kid because he had recurrent otitis media, so fluid in his middle ear. He wasn't doing well at school. He wasn't doing well with his friends. It took me 6 months to figure that out, and I should have figured it out in about 6 minutes. And that has driven a lot of how I try to practice and how I do medicine, because that was pretty darn humbling.
And on that note, thank you. That's why we asked the question. I love my job, and I can tell you guys love yours. We're very lucky. Thank you so much to the both of you for spending some time with us here, getting to know our community and letting us get to know you. It's meant a lot to us. We're really here to work together. And so you will find these folks will reach out to you. I guarantee it. And the Surrey and White Rock Board of Trade is also here to help you, maybe with some policy work. It is now my pleasure to welcome, we just get to hang out for a few more minutes, Umar Durrani, Vice President of Operations at Focus College, who is our co-presenting sponsor, to thank our speakers and to bring a few remarks. Come on up, sir.
Hi. It was an honor listening to Dr. Joy, Dr. David, and thanks, Joslyn, for this excellent gathering. Thank you very much. I've got two confessions to make. In the morning, I came to know that I'll be talking for about 3 minutes, talking about Focus College. And the second confession is that I have a military background, 37 years in military, so politically I can be incorrect a bit. My congrats to SFU. My youngest son is alumni of SFU. Our student engagement employee sitting here is alumni of SFU. So since I don't have any script, so I will be narrating a story. This story will talk about the spirit and the focus behind Focus College. It's a story of a young man who was born in northwestern province of Pakistan, close to Pakistan-Afghanistan border. Very passionate about education. Didn't have any worthwhile college after his post-secondary education was completed. Collected some funds, went to UK, studied IT, did well, became citizen of UK, started business of IT. But he was carrying that passion of education in his heart. From UK, he comes to Canada to expand his business of IT. But then he gets bored from his business, and he still wanted to follow that passion of education. Hence, his business became the means to support his passion, and he starts this Focus College. Starts with 2 programs. Now we have 6 departments. Business department has about 6 programs. The IT department has about 9 programs. Hospitality and tourism. Health, soon we will have about 9 programs. Law, languages. His passion was this education, serve the community. His passion doesn't stop here. He wants to take this passion back to his country, his native country, his motherland, and start an education hub over there. Because this will provide that cheap education, which provides a lot of quality of Canadian education, of course, but it's going to be affordable for them to the region where there was no worthwhile education being provided. So he wants to take his passion back to that place and start an education hub so that the students over there complete 2 years of education in their own country, which is affordable, and then they go to our respective associated, affiliated pathway universities and institutions in Australia or Canada. And I'm sure we can find some understanding with the SFU also in that venture. But that's the story of this gentleman who's sitting here. Where has he gone? Yeah, there he's sitting here. This young man. So hence, since it was a passion, not a business, he hired this retired military general to be the VP operations of this college because he wanted to run this as a disciplined institution, not for profit making, but to serve the community. Thank you very much, Sajad. Thank you very much. Thanks a lot. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Umar. Stay close because we're going to do a photo after. We're going to do a photo after, so stay close. Stay close. I've just got some sponsors to thank. You're one of them. You can have a seat. Thank you, Mar. I love that story. You tell it at our new members breakfast from time to time, and it always gets me. And Sajat's right here. He's very shy. He doesn't like to have the attention, and now I'm pointing you out. So it is, of course, my pleasure once again to thank our speakers, all of you, our guests, our co-presenting sponsors of Focus College and Shoppers Drug Mart, our community sponsors, Central City, the Downtown Surrey Business Improvement Association, and the Health and Tech District by the Lark Group. Can I get a round of applause for these guys? And of course, our co-hosts are the Cloverdale Business Improvement Association and the Cloverdale Chamber of Commerce, the Downtown Surrey BIA, the Fleetwood Business Improvement Association, and the Newton Business Improvement Association. Thank you so much, everyone, for being here, and thanks to our sponsors, and make it a great business day.